right. This poem is called Anarcho-Communism. It expresses my political philosophy. The gazelle prances through the concrete jungle, and two lions at the watering hole stop to stare. We haven't escaped the jungle yet. Living in engineered houses with fences, we are undomesticated beers, intoxicated by our senses and impulses, rising to the occasion for motivations unbeknownst to us. So serious, we invent utensils to protect us from the lives we took, and clothes to cover up the flesh bags that incite lust and realness, and list the reasons why we should suppress Pavlov's dog until he sublimates and masturbates and recreates the canine within to sin against a conscience seared by a nature battling against itself, asking ourselves what part of us to follow, to take the path of wilderness or aristocrats that rearrange the primal pulse into beats that won't get out of control. But like memes repeating, they always do, and thoughts count as performances in the mind, just like people who fantasize about genocide may be confined by the invisible hand we see at work in every governance and legislation, twisting arms to coerce this frustration into a symphony where we all play nice, while presidents and kings indulge their vice and crimes and make us pawns on chessboards expendable. The king sits defended as the sacrifice and slaughter happens in front of us, and even the queen is killable in this one-way negotiation of who gets what. We divide the subsections of islands and continents into property, dropped from the heavens to the lands, drawing lines arbitrary. We need to stop to ask who really does this profit, because someone is planning to have the last laugh. Rules aren't made for nothing, they're protecting someone's right to break them. Civil rights, a distribution of the king's private things. And kings, we just want you to know, we're not done fucking with you yet. And Plato's anti-demos leanings about philosopher kings can pay obeisance to my philosophy, the classist hierarchy ingrained in us by such a simple game as chess. Well, motherfuckers, we don't want to play chess. We want to play checkers and bid adieu to pecker checkers and pucker and kiss the new world, not utopias, just another system that will fall but will make a footprint that says we were here, and screamed our independence and collectiveness, saying, we don't want to play chess. We want to play checkers. We don't want to play chess. We want to play checkers. And there never was a philosopher king, because a philosopher would know better than to play a game that slaughters its most important players. We refuse to play chess. If you're looking for us, we'll be over here playing checkers. I'm sure I could find something to read. Volume down on the customers, you know. Yeah, sure. Let's see. All right. I think the point pointed to me and asked, what is the point to this point? To be a period at the end of a deep sentence on a page so flat? Or is there more to the page than we had thought, a mythos on a plane trying to locate an ethos that doesn't contradict our logos or our palette, because that's pretty important. And we try to have these unified and live our lives sewing the different chapters of our pages together to apprehend a storyline that defines our private, invisible experience. No one can penetrate, but to arouse in us moments of insanity, inanity, vanity, and profanity, and test the sanity of all the stuff we choose to carry with us. Wandering the pictures of this book, lost in the forest of ourselves, an existential crisis, we find we always miss whatever we were aiming for, but just barely, and always dance around the point and land eluded by the thing we were waiting for to justify our existence to ourselves, while we sell ourselves short, for it is inadequate to need to justify ourselves to anyone, even us. So we stand from the focal point of our perspective looking for the good life, missing the life we're living, missing moments by taking photographs. What we run from runs to us, grabs onto us, and pulls us to a space where we must learn to fill our cups with nothingness. And this is the trick to happiness. To grow a garden from our emptiness and moisture in our shriveledness, enlightenment in soberness and intoxicants. We dance and prance unto the next experience, vexed when seams tear, exposing a seeming world of dreams someone else had planned for us. And we found ourselves living those plans, speeding over speed bumps full speed, not slowing to get an accurate view of the road, just monkey see, monkey do. Monkey scratches head and grunts and farts, and monkey cries, and monkeys embrace and find solace in the arms of a loveless universe. But in our arms, we are the universe. And we monkeys will make a universe of love, and always try to realize that everywhere we go, then run into God, that bastard, always intruding on what we agreed to chant to ourselves. A mantra repeats outside these walls that we did not create. Playing in the background, we try to adjust our tune, but the rhythm is hard to follow, so we swallow and choke on the hollowness of our throats, trying to put 2 points together like man and God, pointing at each other but not allowed to touch because science said so. When they are in each other's arms and humping, they find out they're one person. The two sides of the coin, the heads and tails, running from each other, looking for the yin for their yang, and the chaos in the cosmos of grief and loss and feelings that don't make sense, but don't need to defend themselves to reason's austere glance. The point is that they are nonsense, and that should teach us to know the universe never required coherence from us anyways. As we watch our dreams of what this should be crash into a dystopian fantasy and smash the transparency and transcendence and tragedy of certain moments with embarrassments, we learn not to regret or expect too much and eat from plates of food so vaporous. We fill ourselves until we're nauseous, looking for a way out, but the only way up is down, and you'll never know if you reach the bottom when things that had excited us now give us boredom and we wake up to not be the person we were planning for. But here we are, and we can ask, what story should I tell? From here, what ideals should I follow, and what picture of the world should I have inside my head? And will I finally be who I plan to be before I'm dead? And when I awake up old, will I feel this way, making each choice like an eternal ripple? But the forces at play always interrupt our groove, but we make zen with them, baking cookies in ovens and Tao with stupid TV shows and Nirvana in samsara, and need to not say that we haven't lived, except to say that we were always living and didn't realize it. And accepting a universe that isn't beautiful or ugly becomes suddenly attractive and fills you up with an ethos of love. And that's what we call intrinsic values, the ones that seem to pop from nothingness to us and cry out like the thousands before us when it keeps sending us mixed messages, and pick up the pieces to try and build the world again for others to see, and we be well commended, or at least be happy with our crappy selves one day, and feel the things that make some people want to pray and others to praise and others to meditate and cry and laugh. The winds of change posturing us to walk on different paths and run into you at some intersection. These different paths led to an exchange our points of view. Please welcome Andrew. All right, I have one more slightly political poem that I'm gonna throw at you. This poem is called Darwin Removed These Chains. It was written under the influence of Friedrich Nietzsche and life. So, instinct like a bowel movement must be let out. Must pin the superego to get her done. This struggle brings the animal out of us. Soldiers die, casualties to Darwin's maker. There is a time for war, said the preacher. Not a time of war, a time for war. A time to purge ourselves with struggle, to find again our resilience, that we are animals deified by opposable thumbs. And Greeks, obsessed with the power-filled phallus, come to a time of testing, bursting forth life gods, the guardians of nations, the ones who make room for poets to see vulvas and roses and rock formations. Mother Nature, a cruel nun striking hands with rulers, giving tests first and then lessons. Color struggle looking over brown picket fences. The dictatorship of the proletariat come long last. Power changes hefty hands, a slut for all who prove themselves worthy. Empires miscarried fall pitiful into dirty toilets, and nations like yogurt seem to have an expiration date. Sinners lay down their swords for saints to take them up and slay them there. The stories of it all boil up to power, and this struggle is our salvation, for when we need strength, then we become strong, and wrong and right are secondary. Power is the engine that drives people, like brute beasts gridlocked on tax reform, antlers locked battling for Mona Lisa, for Monica Lewinsky, driven by desire for how it must feel to be on top, like animals deified by architecture, forks and spoons and guns, rationality, language, opposable thumbs. And I bet you've never thought of how much religion deifies us. Our belief in God makes us gods as we suck the yellow blood from beneath native feet and delicately wipe our lips. As we patrol oily Middle Eastern blood, Abu Ghraib blurs lines of distinction over who the terrorists are. As we see the animal in Hiroshima and grimace and worship before what we are capable of, instinctual self is who we minimize, preferring to be philosophers and poets, scientists and presidents. But it is pure instinctual self which keeps us alive, draws air without our notice, and makes room for prophets to see God in everything. We thinkers are indebted to the beast inside us, the beast inside others, the animals we call our mothers and fathers, driven to fuck like apes fuck and lions fuck and tigers fuck, who would have been just friends if not driven from within to fucking make us happen, bursting forth life gods who struggle every day of their life to find what star they came from, making messy bowel movements so much relief it is pleasure to let instinct save our necks and wipe afterwards as if we had something to do with it. And we read in the law of Moses that God is a man of war, and also that we are made in God's image. Like when fighting, we reach the zenith of godhood, when my romantic self thinks just the opposite, begging for swords to be beaten into plowshares. Thank you.
Right on, great sentiments there, Andrew. The Young Poets of Eugene, folks. How about a hand?
All right, this poem's a little long. We'll see if we can make it fit in the time. This is a quasi-biblical tale entitled Cain's rendition of early Genesis after killing his brother Abel. After the killing of my brother, spilling the first bleeding, glistening morbidity, I wrote this poetry and rehearsed it in my mind, saying, if perchance the gods and goddesses are forgiving, then I may well go living, sinning, and rebutting against their dictates, performing blasphemies, prostrate to create a clean slate, giving deity opportunity to show mercy at indignity, if it is indeed indignity to glory in processions of disobedience, reckoning myself a human in the likeness of a god, naming man Adam, who eating from forbidden fruity realization suddenly awakened with eyes wide open that hence were yet unopened, blind to thinking like the gods that he was worshiping. The serpent was not lying when it said that God was lying, that disobeying shall not produce dying this day, but you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil, discriminating between dichotomies, hence unknown prime evil, the umbilical cord between divine and us unbroken in biblical narration, from creation to fall to eschaton to new creation, when all becomes the one and one becomes the all, but in the drama in between it is only rational for mind to ask, what is missing? That this fruit I should not grasp and clasp and fill my senses with the fragrance of its sweetest musk, crossing this line fashioned by the gods to see how much can be known by forsaking duties to authorities. So he did not die that day, but went to surviving as the mythos unfolds for some 900 years, I'm told, and I have not fallen prey to the lightning strike of holy deity, enraged at his plight to fight against an uncouth soul, unmoved by threats or pretense for control, by governors or provinces I happen to be in, and customs that define the canon of appropriate lives to live. Marry on my way, I do what gets called righteousness and do what gets called sin, finding each an occasion for oblation and wallowing in this new gnosis, oasis, boldly elevating my prognosis. I stand at the vantage of Mount Olympus and Mount Sinai, observing the arguing and petty fighting over which humans deserve to live and which deserve to die. Well, fickle. This cartoon of creators to make this potential and forbid the actual. Why not think twice about the seditious tree sitting there alongside the tree of life, to be wondered at every day as the couple sits and eats from subservience? The curiosity for indolence grows right next to them. And why make a wily creature as that serpent to feature questions God did not or cannot answer so eloquently, if not to say that the desire of the gods that we should heed them is illusory? It is the Trinity beckoning with every beck and call for following the status quo to come join the family by saying, no, my will be done. You archaic, bloodlust-driven, chauvinistic brethren, If you wanted my compliance, why concoct reverse psychology? Why tighten the chains and give me the ability to break them and take the reins to govern my soul? If you reign a sovereign to feign praise and not disdain to forevermore, or set a door before me that states, do not open, when I know what lies on the other side is also your creation. If you are the painters and I am the painted, I'm just learning and expanding on the canvas of colors you have tainted. You painted a whole world outside of Eden, and as nice as Eden is, the deserts unconfined are nicer. Innocence, unexamined ignorance, petty and unworthy of nostalgia, when departing from the pack, with this mark on my head and a pack on my back, dubbed a nomad, to explore the land God said, for PR purposes, he put it there to curse me, but whispered in my ear what he had made me, a wizard, like Harry Potter and Voldemort, superseding Adam now. This is a reward. Now go learn my craft. Make something to shaft all my angels and demons and people in astonishment at what can be done when freedom is won. So son, have fun, but don't tell everyone about this freedom or you won't be so free yourself. We need sheep to bat idly to accommodate those who see no need for sacrifice, but place each choice on the altar, burning incense to the nostrils of a God intense, hiding his intents in facades of diversions masquerading as commandments. Each statement not to partake a whisper from the Holy Spirit. Your will be done, second to none. You were made to create, not follow dictate. So do what you will and locate your fill in the heart of your kill, forsaking the till of labor so dull, till I come in the clouds and give you your fill. Forgiving you would only add insult to injury, to imply my purposes were thwarted by your liberty. Remember, whatever you contribute, at least make a good story to have a Bible written around it or something. Indeed, if we wanted you to behave slavishly, why would we concoct reverse psychology? Thank you.
The Young Poets of Eugene. What do you think, folks?